on Sports Weekly. Half the scramble to the Final Four is complete as the Cats dance in the West and the Nets come down in Knoxville. Digger and Dicker here for the debriefing. Meanwhile, another old pro prowls the Summit baselines, and Scotty beams one up in the Madhouse on Madison. The Panthers take New York as Isles fans stage a walkout, and uneasy is the head that wears the crown.
Off the record, I mean, does that mean that you don't have to tell the truth? Does that mean that you're going to lie?
Speaking of records, the great one, 62nd, is a biggie.
I'd like to get 900 goals. I'd like to stay around the 1,000. I'm not sure. I'll keep plugging away.
A knockdown, drag-out good time is next.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines.
Good morning. I'm Dick Schaap, and welcome to Sunday Sports Day, March 27th, 1994. 2.5 hours of news, views, reviews, and previews, highlights and sidelights, cheers and jeers. Now, there is only one number one seed among the 6 remaining candidates for the NCAA basketball championship. And that number one seed, Arkansas, is expected to be sternly tested by Michigan's Fab 4+1 today. Chris Fowler is ready to guide us through Sports Weekly, our opening hour. And Chris, if you were president of the United States, would you drop everything else and go watch Arkansas play Michigan today?
Dick, first of all, I wouldn't want to be president of the U.S., and if I were, I'd just go to games all the time. I'd do all the fun stuff and let the staff take care of the problems, kind of like what Ronald Reagan did. But if I were Clinton, I'd certainly rather be at the Arkansas-Michigan game than Roger Clinton's wedding.
You'd rather be right than president, and you'd rather be in the Caribbean.
Any day, any day. All right, we're going to have a lot of hoops talk coming up, Dick. But first of all, we're going to start with a look at the 2 Final Four passes already earned. Once again, a Mike Krzyzewski Duke team demonstrated its tournament know-how, cohesiveness, poise. They hounded Purdue's big dog with as good a defensive job as he's seen all year. Coming in with that string of 30-plus games, Duke never gave him good looks at the basket. Grant Hill wouldn't let it happen. Watch the defense. Locked up against Glenn. The quickness forcing a steal. Then on the top of the key, Robinson drives. Hill forces the tough shot. And Cherokee Park's there to reject it. Robinson, a tougher second half than he had in the first half. Man-to-man against Glenn. Drives to his left. Comes up a little short. Robinson never untracked. Matt Waddell kept Purdue in the game. And Hill inside, knifing in for the layup, tied at 32 at halftime. Second half, more good defense. Robinson still looking for a good look at the basket. Bat the off-balance shot. They even used a double team. Glenn could not beat it. 6 for 22 from the field. Credit Tony Lang with also doing a great defensive job. Grant Hill would get 4 fouls. He would go to the bench, and Mike Krzyzewski said a prayer. Grant Hill said a prayer. Tony Lang said a prayer, but Duke survived with Hill in foul trouble. Chief with the big dunk. He gets fired up. And then Jeff Capel, the freshman, playing brilliantly. Look at the behind-the-back whip pass to Lang for the layup. And Duke back to the Final Four one more time. A total team effort, 69-60. 6 times in 7 years for Duke now. Coach K's teams have never lost. 1 step short of the Final Four. 7-0 in regional finals. Lang and Capel 19, Hill hit 11. The Chief 15 points and 10 rebounds. A couple of big blocks on Robinson, held to a season low 13.
They said Purdue wasn't a good team. They're a one-man team. Believe me, when the season is over with, they wouldn't be ranked number 10. And that gave me extra motivation. They gave our teams motivation. Now, we made you guys look like fools.
Yeah, you can tell them some things to guard Robinson. Guarding Robinson is another story.
In the West, the redemption region, Arizona silenced critics for a while anyway. Missouri cold early. Javon Cruda from close in can't get it down. Melvin Booker, so brilliant all tournament long, misses the 3. A lot of that against Lute Olson's team yesterday. Then Damon Stoudemire connects. The backcourt once again brilliant for Arizona. That's the deep 3. 18 in the first half for Stoudemire. He was 4 for his first 4. And then put up the block on Khalid Reeves, but Corey Williams there for the putback and the foul. Reggie Geary, the nice look inside. Williams, another hoop, another foul. Cats in control, up 14 at the break. Missouri made a number of runs in the second half, but Booker way off from three-point land. Paulo Linney can't get it to go. 7 for 33 from behind the arc. Meanwhile, Arizona pouring it on. Geary, the pretty bounce pass to Khalid Reeves. Missouri's season is over after a nice run. Arizona's continues. They move on to Charlotte. They've steamrolled their 4 opponents by an average margin of 18 points. Never trailed against Louisville or Mizzou. Stoudemire brilliant. So was Reeves with 26 points. A sweet triumph for a bitter Lute Olson. Bitter about fans and media who've bashed the Cats for their recent early exits.
We have won over the last 7 years over 83% of our games. We're the winningest program in America, and yet we are losers, and the coach can't coach, and he can't motivate, and he can't do this, and he can't do that. And yet you don't read about scandals, you don't read problems with the NCAA, you don't read problems in terms of how our kids do their job, and I think that's a sorry situation.
Come on, Lute, enjoy it. The second Final Four for Olson. Ahead in the show, Dick Vitale and Digger Phelps sound off on yesterday's games and also preview today's. Well, a Texas-sized spat is still growing between Jerry and Jimmy, and it's threatening to shatter the Big D dynasty. Johnson reacted angrily to Jerry Jones' remarks at the owners' meetings that he should fire his coach. Well, Jerry has mentioned negotiations to let Jimmy out of his contract. Johnson says he'll hold a press conference to announce his future plans soon. He's not accepting Jones' explanation.
I don't accept that he was drunk and made comments, because a few hours later he made the same derogatory comments to his business associate Mike McCoy. As far as this smokescreen that it was off the record, I mean, does that mean that you don't have to tell the truth? Does that mean that you're going to lie? And besides off the record, there were men and women around that were not reporters, and how did they take off the record?
Johnson says he was offered a job by another NFL team in this offseason, but turned it down. We'll hear from Jerry Jones and get Chris Berman's perspective on this story later on this morning. NBA, it's been 11 seasons since a Houston University team featuring Hakeem Olajuwon saw its championship dream swiped in the final seconds by NC State. In the years since, Hakeem has become a master of crunch time. He says his concentration, his assertiveness grows in the fourth quarter. Jerry Sloan says no one is playing like Hakeem right now. A rough one with the Jazz last night. Ty Corbett, Hannibal Lecter look, and he would need to buckle up. This one got rough. Felton Spencer, Carl Herrera wrestle each other to the floor. Then, ouch, the headbutt. Spencer butting heads with the mailman. It's WWF time. And Carl, a little woozy. What's next? The sleeper hold. In the fourth quarter of a tight game, Hakeem would catch fire. The strength to get it down despite being fouled. 20 of his 37 in the fourth as Houston wins it going away. Mad Max, 18 after missing 2 games with a bad knee. Sam Cassell had 19 as the Rockets snap a 3-game skid against Utah. In Chicago, the Pacers pushed the Bulls. Scottie Pippen misses the free throw at the end of the first quarter, but swipes the lazy pass and buries the 3 just before the buzzer. Bulls led by as many as 16. Larry Brown discussed it. Second half, though, Pacers rally. Miller the steal. Antonio Davis filling the lane and throwing it down. Pacers back within 2 points. They're still down 2 with 5 seconds left. Derek McKee the chance to win it. In the lane, short shot. Scott Williams says, I don't think so. Bulls hold on and win it by a deuce. Their 5th straight home win. 20 points, 11 rebounds for Luke Longley, or that was for Pippen, rather. Luke Longley, 12 points, 4 boards, and 6 fouls in 18 minutes. The Pacers had not lost back-to-back games in 2 months until now. Pucks, there's nothing trendy or glamorous. After winning again, she was a little tired of tennis. Now she'll get an unexpected month off after injuring her left knee during practice Thursday in Florida. Graf has returned to Germany for treatment after withdrawing from next week's Family Circle Cup. She hopes to be match ready by late April. Well, while Wayne Gretzky was passing Gordie Howe, some other pucksters were tearing ligaments, rumbling with bouncers, and getting maced. Those items part of our Academy Award-themed weekly wrap-up. With apologies to Oscar and Whoopi, this is as close as SportsCenter is going to get to the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. Now, our hostess, Linda Cohn.
They got the right one, baby. A business agreement between Pepsi-Cola and USA Basketball will allow Pepsi's tallest endorser to play in the World Championships this summer, putting a lot more fizz into Dream Team 2. On Wednesday, California's Jason Kidd turned 21, then turned up at his own press conference to announce that he was going pro.
Everybody keeps comparing me to Magic. I wish you guys would stop.
The Pac-10's most prolific passer becomes the first underclassman to enter this year's NBA draft. K-State Wildcat Askia Jones went wild Thursday. He poured in a Big 8 record 62 points, including 14 threes, as his team shellacked Fresno State 115-77, advancing to the NIT semis. A Portland grand jury Monday indicted Shane Stant, Sean Eckert, and Derek Smith in the Nancy Kerrigan attack. The three, facing 20-year prison terms, all pleaded innocent to assault and racketeering charges. World number 1 Pete Sampras copped the Lipton Championship Sunday, shaking off a pre-match stomach ache and a rapidly improving Andre Agassi. Sampras served 7 aces in his last 2 service games to close out the match. Moses Malone's 9 points against Charlotte Tuesday put the 18-year veteran past the Big E and into 3rd place among career scoring leaders in the NBA with 27,314 points. Greg Anderson was the recipient of Isaiah Thomas's 9,000th career assist Wednesday at the Palace. The Pistons' mainstay becomes only the 4th player in history to reach that milestone. The Knicks' victory on Thursday over the T-Wolves was their 11th in a row, their longest streak in 21 seasons. On Friday, the streak was kept alive with a win at Indiana. Heavyweight Michael Bent, who suffered brain injuries during last Saturday's WBO title bout with Herbie Hyde, well, he was released from a London hospital on Monday. He's been advised to retire from the sweet science. An MRI on Cam Neely's right knee revealed that his collision with the Devils' Ken Danico resulted in a torn medial collateral ligament. The Bruins star is now lost for the season. More bad news midweek. Defenseman Ray Bourque has a sprained right knee, but he should be ready for the playoffs.
I'll do what I have to. I'll get some rest, and I'll be in tip-top shape when I come back.
A scene out of Slapshot? A minor league playoff game in Tulsa Wednesday was the soundstage when Oklahoma's Bruce Shoebottom pushed an official, then headbutted an off-duty policeman. He was sprayed with pepper gas and eventually subdued in a chokehold. The end result? An ambulance ride and an extended stay in a local hospital. 6 Hartford Whalers were arrested early Thursday following a scuffle with bouncers at a Buffalo bar owned by Jim Kelly. Hartford's planned suspensions, with first-round pick Chris Pronger sitting out the rest of the season, have been put on hold pending a league investigation. And Mike Tyson's got to hit the books again. The ex-heavyweight champ flunked his high school equivalency exam this week. Passing would have taken 3 months off his sentence. He can take the test again in 90 days.
The suspensions for those Hartford Whalers were overturned. They played last night in Hartford's home loss. Now, with L.A.'s Oscar hype fading, 2 huge stars of the sports realm were grabbing headlines late this week in L.A. Ahead, we'll hear from Magic on his Laker coaching debut tonight. And then hockey's new scoring king, Wayne Gretzky, shoots down speculation that retirement is in his immediate future.
I'd like to get 900 goals. I'd like to stay around the 1,000. I'm not sure.
Number 99, number 802. Hope you're able to witness the conclusion of Wayne Gretzky's quest Monday night. He surpassed the record that stood for 3 decades since the NHL retirement of Gordie Howe. And as Charlie Steiner reports, joined a pretty exclusive club.
There is Hank Aaron and his home run record. Walter Payton and his rushing record. And Kareem and his scoring record. There is Wayne Gretzky and his NHL goal-scoring record.
Gretzky looking, Gary Curry, McSorley to Gretzky! Scores! He did it! He did it!
And now the 33-year-old Gretzky, who once considered early retirement, is setting his sights on the unthinkable.
Well, I'm not sure what's next. You know, I said yesterday at the press conference, I'd like to get 900 goals. I'd like to stay around the 1,000. I'm not sure. I'll keep plugging away. I love to play.
In his 15 years in the NHL, Gretzky has averaged an astonishing 54 goals per season. Not only is he a sharpshooter, but he has managed to stay, with the exception of last season, remarkably resilient. The 29-year-old Brett Hull is on a pace to close in on Gretzky if he's able to do it for another 8 seasons, and if he can stay healthy. But at the moment, Gretzky's all-time goal-scoring title seems secure. After all, those active players closest to the great one are all older than he is. Gordie Howe became the all-time leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League back in 1963 when he surpassed Montreal's Maurice the Rocket Richard. So Howe held the record for 31 years until Wednesday night, and Gretzky's long journey had finally come to fruition.
When I was struggling to get 4 goals, I was at a point where I was saying, okay, I'm not playing very well right now. I went through a little bit of a flu bout last week, so I was kind of, you know, you start wondering in your mind, things dance through your head. So when I scored early in the game in San Jose, people who know me and who've been around me for a long time knew it was going to come quickly after I got that quick one.
When Gretzky broke Howe's record, it took him 11 seasons and 650 less games to do it than it took Gordie Howe. So let there be little question. As of Wednesday night, the great one, who set his 62nd NHL career record, became hockey's greatest one.
Howe's reign lasted 30 years, 4 months. He surpassed Maurice Richard. You know, when the pocket rocket snapped Nels Stewart's records, the puck was gold-plated and sent to Queen Elizabeth. Boy, she cherished that. We know of no plans to send the new King's record puck to any member of any royalty anywhere. With the postseason looming, several teams went searching for missing pieces this week. The Bruins.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly. And brought to you in part by Jaguar. For a catalog of all the 1994 models and the name of your nearest dealer, call 1-800-4JAGUAR. And Budget Rent-A-Car. The smart money is on budget.
Before two former esteemed teachers, Dick Vitale and Digger Phelps, look at Duke's textbook defensive effort against Purdue yesterday. Steve Cyphers gets the reaction of the Blue Devils and the Big Dog. He was put on a short leash and held to a season-low 13.
Duke sent the message early. On Purdue's first possession, Cherokee Parks blocked Glenn Robinson.
With Cherokee back there, I mean, it really made us feel good. And we really went out there and played defense with a reckless abandon.
Lang and Grant Hill, both 6'8", led the Blue Devils in shutting down the Big Dog. Almost every shot was contested. That is when Robinson got the ball.
My goal was just to try to deny him the ball, and I knew they were going to set screens for him, make him go back door, they set a lot of double screens around the three-point line, not to get screened, and really no excuses at all.
What caused the most problem was I don't think he's gone against a player of Grant's height and quickness, and so that might have been something new for him.
Either he plays against a tall guy, kind of a power forward type, who he's quicker than, he can go right by, or a smaller guy we can shoot right over. So we try to put a hand up in his face and use our foot speed, our quickness, and try to distract him.
The distraction left Robinson shooting 4 for 10 in the first half and 2 of 12 in the second half. All 6 three-point tries failed.
They played great defense. They denied me the ball. If I was set, if a screen was set, if Antonio Lane's man was set a screen, then they would switch. Then it was hard for me to get the ball that way.
You can tell him some things to guard Robinson. Guarding Robinson is another story.
It takes effort, and that takes energy. Hill had enough because his offensive load was lifted as Lang and freshman Jeff Capel each finished with 19.
And, my teammates, they just kept on giving me confidence. They told me to keep on shooting, keep on looking to drive, and, just keep on playing well, and that's what I was trying to do.
Purdue was rallying midway through the second half when Hill drew his 4th foul, which sent him to the bench. Guarding Robinson became Lang's exclusive assignment.
I said a little prayer, God, please help me through this, because I knew that sooner or later he was going to get on the run.
Robinson never did get untracked and finished with a season-low 13 points. That everyone saw. What everyone didn't see was that before the Big Dog left the Thomas Bowling Arena, he stopped by to say congratulations and good luck to the men who shut him down. In Knoxville, Steve Cyphers, ESPN.
All right, now Digger is here. Dick Vitale has escaped to Florida just before the snow and the sleet hit Connecticut one more time. I don't know how he pulled that off. But, Dick, talk about Duke's defensive effort. They have 2 of the better individual defensive players in the country in Lang and Hill, but the team defense so brilliant again.
Well, I think you got to credit certainly the game plan designed by Mike Krzyzewski, who's an absolute genius. He really is. to get this basketball team to play with a different personality than last year when they had Bob Hurley pressuring the basketball and Thomas Hill was amazing. I thought the fact that he rotated Grant Hill and Antonio Lang trying to deny the big dog the basketball, and then the help inside, because Purdue didn't have a threat down in the boxes offensively in a low post. They were able basically almost to have Cherokee Parks zone up. And I thought it was amazing, the defensive effort, the help, because they shut down what I think is probably the best forward to play the game since a guy by the name of Larry the Legend did it down there at Indiana State on a collegiate level. And really, it was just an amazing plan, an amazing execution. And there's something else about Duke. Yesterday certainly showed it. A lot of teams play hard, Chris and Digger. They play with tremendous intensity, but it's a whole different thing when you play hard, and you play hard as a unit and as a team, and you have everybody blending together as a unit, and that's what they did. And now they march on to Charlotte, trying to make it 4 in a row on Tobacco Road in cutting the nets down.
They're such a cohesive team. You're right. You have to credit Kay for assembling players that like each other, like to play together, pull for each other. Offensively, besides the great defensive effort on Robinson, Capel stepped it up. He is really blossoming in this tournament, and the rest of the Blue Devils just spread around.
Well, that was a key in the second half when you knew that Grant Hill is in serious foul trouble. He goes to the bench, but it was the maturity of Antonio Lang and Jeff Capel. Capel doing a good job handling the ball. Shoots a 3 here. Big 3 when they need it. They take over the game, get 19 points apiece. Antonio Lang, Capel stops here for a little jumper. Now watch this, Capel with the feed. He handles the ball a lot better for Duke. Here's Lang stepping up, big jump shot, key time. And when you take a look again, Capel behind the back pass, inside, up to Antonio Lang. And I really thought that when Coach K made the decision about his defense, yes, Robinson goes 5 for 20. But with Hill in foul trouble, you needed the maturity, and Duke's been waiting all year for Jeff Capel and Antonio Lang to have the big games, to have the big second halves, and that was the difference to why Duke really played so well without Grant Hill.
Gene Cady came close to criticizing the Zebras in the post-game press conference. You really felt that he was the victim of a bad call in the first half that helped turn the game?
They're making a big run, and all of a sudden, you don't call this in the game. When you take a look at the tape, it just doesn't happen. Robinson takes the ball out of bounds. Now watch this. No effect on the game itself. See, he calls it over the line violation. It's no call on that situation. I thought that led to Gene Cady being upset, not only there, but later on there is a bench technical, and when Purdue had the 10-point lead, this was to me where they just melded down mentally, never got in focus. Duke outplayed them the last 8 minutes of the first half, and in the second half, Duke scores the first 7 points, and that was a ball game.
Dick, now the Dukies get the winner of the BC-Florida game. You have to believe they'd be favored in that game. Are they going to win it all now?
Well, I don't know about winning it all, because that Arkansas game with Michigan certainly is going to be something special, and Arizona has just been brilliant. I thought Arizona's performance was scintillating their backcourt. But I know one thing, they got to be excited about me playing in Charlotte, number one. I mean, you talk about a comfort zone. They played there in the ACC tournament. And number two, the fact that they're there, it's such an elation and such an unbelievable moment for the Duke players, blending together, as you said earlier, showing that if you have love for one another and you have chemistry and togetherness. And Grant Hill, I've said it once and I'll say it again, whoever doesn't take him number one may live to regret it, like that team in 1984 that regretted not taking the guy by the name of Michael, because the kid has W on his chest. He's a winner.
I agree with you, but you had Robinson number one.
Now he's off Glenn Robinson's bandwagon because he loses.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Robinson's got to be number one, and then he's got to be number two. What I'm saying is, you don't take Donyell Marshall and you don't take Jason Kidd ahead of Grant Hill. You'll regret it.
You may. All right, you guys hang around. We'll dissect Arizona's demolition of Missouri in the West Final to earn Lute Olson's second Final Four trip. In the meantime, we'll hear from Chris Berman on the festering feud between former Razorback teammates who might break up the Cowboys.
He was concerned. I certainly said to him that he's certainly the coach of the Cowboys.
Jeff George and the Georgia Dome throwing deep to Dion. It'll happen this fall. ESPN's Chris Mortensen says the Falcons will explore using Sanders to haul in bombs from their newly acquired quarterback, who really could blossom under Coach June Jones. The Falcons got George for a 1 and a 3 in this draft, a conditional second-round pick in '96. The Falcons originally had George's rights before trading them to Indy He could be a good run-and-shoot quarterback. Meanwhile, Anthony Miller is now a Denver Bronco. The Chargers did not match the offer, $10.5 million for 4 years. The Chargers replaced Miller by obtaining Tony Martin from Miami. They get a 5th wide receiver for an undisclosed 1994 draft pick. The Cowboys lose their kicker, Eddie Murray, signing a 2-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Meanwhile, Louis Oliver will still play for Shula, but not for Don. He's going to play for David in Cincinnati. Oliver signs a 2-year deal. And another DB on the move, Albert Lewis, the Chiefs standout, a 3-year deal with the Raiders. These are the other transactions. Tony Bennett to the Colts. Vance Johnson, as the wide receiver shuffle continues in that AFC West, goes to the Chargers. Ron Hall to the Lions. And Ray Seals to the Steelers. Lonnie Martz to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Gary Plummer to the 49ers. Steve DiAsi heading north to the Patriots. As you heard earlier, Jimmy Johnson is not forgiving and forgetting. Comments made by his boss, Jerry Jones, at the owners' meetings. The struggle for power within the Cowboys appears to have reached a nastier, more personal level. As Chris Berman reports, opinions are divided on whether the Dallas duo will split, but Jones' efforts to downplay his alcohol-induced comments haven't been successful.
All this over a 2-point conversion?
Hardly. All this because Cowboys coach Jimmy Johnson abruptly left the owners' meetings and was notably absent from the morning coach's breakfast and photo. Johnson told the Dallas Morning News he was reassessing his future with the Cowboys following comments Jones made late Monday night suggesting he might fire his coach.
The night before, on an off-the-record basis, I basically, which is something that I do quite often, tossed a lot of things around regarding the Cowboys, the league, the NFL, and that was one of them, but that wasn't given any serious consideration on my part.
What may have gotten Johnson's craw was that Jones even mentioned a possible successor, Barry Switzer, a rival from Jimmy's college days at Oklahoma State. Jerry's comments stem from an instance earlier Monday evening at an NFL function at Pleasure Island.
I proposed a toast to about a group of 5 or 6 people, 5 of which had Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl rings, to kind of toast job well done. That was about it. And for my own reason, I just wasn't satisfied with the toast and decided to toast someplace else.
When they were sort of unresponsive, although attentive to Jerry, he became angered and uttered a profanity and turned on his heels and left.
Johnson was sitting with some old associates, then personnel director Bob Ackles, now with the Cardinals, and his 2 ex-coordinators, Norv Turner and Dave Wannstedt.
I think a lot's been made out of very little, and Jimmy and Jerry have their way of operating, and it's not a whole lot different than what usually goes on.
I think everything is just blown out of proportion, and I don't think there's really anything there.
The 2 principals didn't talk Wednesday, but they did speak Tuesday, shortly before Johnson decided to leave.
When I visited with Jimmy, I stepped out of a meeting real quick. It wasn't a long meeting. He just basically said, I've heard some rumors, and I said, you're still the coach of the Cowboys. Talked about the circumstances very briefly and went on, and I'm not that concerned about it.
Did you get a feeling that he was concerned yesterday?
Basically, initially, because there'd been a lot of rumors and a lot of innuendos. Certainly, to the extent that he was concerned, I certainly said to him that he's certainly the coach of the Cowboys.
It is time for Face Off, triggered this week by the latest confrontation between Jerry Jones, who owns the Dallas Cowboys and sometimes thinks he coaches them, and Jimmy Johnson, who coaches the Cowboys and sometimes thinks he owns them. Can the Jerry and Jimmy show last one more season? Can they snipe at each other all the way to another Super Bowl? That's the subject of our Face Off today between Mike Lupica and Tony Kornheiser, and Kornheiser leads off.
Can they last one more season? They may not even last one more day. They're supposed to meet tomorrow in Dallas and discuss their future. I think it's curtains for a guy when an owner is quoted as saying, not only am I going to fire you, but here's who I'm going to replace you with, Barry Switzer. I think they're done.
He is going to coach one more year, and I believe this all along. At the Super Bowl, it was so clear that Jimmy Johnson was moving towards the door, making all those sounds that Bill Parcells made before his last Super Bowl. I think it's one more year, one more Super Bowl, and then out. Because Jimmy has got nowhere to go right now. And I don't think Jimmy Johnson's the type who's going to sit out a year just to make a point with Jerry Jones.
This has been compared to George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin in the past, and where that analogy falls down is that
smart people.
Martin couldn't get another job because he was poisoned. Johnson can get another job. If he leaves today, there are probably 10 to 15 teams in a league that would buy out their coaches in order to get him. He'll be unemployed for 30 seconds, Mike.
Nothing like that has ever happened. I believe that they will sit down this week and agree to disagree for one more season, Tony. Jimmy is under contract for 5 more years, so Jerry is still holding all the cards. Jerry can't understand why Jimmy would want to walk away, but let me tell you something. Jimmy will walk away eventually.
He would walk away. He's made sounds of walking away because he looks at an owner who doesn't even want to sign Emmitt Smith and stonewalls the whole team. The whole team would rally around Johnson. Johnson doesn't need this. He'll go.
They already have. Michael, let me ask you a question. In your expert opinion, who has the larger ego, Jerry or Jimmy?
Oh, owners who are mean always have the larger ego.
And in your opinion, Tony, who has the larger ego, Jerry or Michael?
Well, I would always defer to Michael in that in terms of largesse of ego.
And I will defer back to Chris. Pulitzer Prize winner Dave Anderson joins Mike and Tony on the Sports Reporters coming up on the hour. They'll tell you who's going to win the NCAA, how Magic's going to do with the Lakers, and why the classic pennant race is dead. Chris?
Okay, Dick, and next, Michael to the minors. We'll hear from Jordan on his fairly humbling week, plus the rest of the spring training news.
We got a real workout from a certain
Michael, and they say they're going to watch. Yeah, it's going to be big. Everyone's going to be there. You should come, too.
I wish Saturday Night Live were as good as Chris Farley's promos. Well, the arrival of the most famous minor league baseball player in history has fans in Nashville fired up and fans in Birmingham hoping for a further demotion. Michael Jordan impressed White Sox brass with his dedication, but not with his skills yet. So as Charlie Steiner reports, AAA is bracing for one interesting season.
When Michael Jordan first started working out in Chicago in November, White Sox GM Ron Schuler considered his skills crude. But in Sarasota, Schuler, who sent Jordan down to the minor leagues on Monday, was surprised at the diligence with which Jordan went about his business. Although Michael was only 3 for 20 in 13 games, and only one of his hits got out of the infield. Monday marked the first time Jordan worked out with his fellow minor leaguers. He went 1 for 4 that afternoon with an RBI, a walk, and an error. The 31-year-old Jordan, who is a first-year minor leaguer, will make $850 a month, will play either in AA ball at Birmingham or AAA in Nashville, depending on how he does over the next couple of weeks. In Nashville, the Sounds have 2 plans for the season ahead, the Michael plan and the non-Michael plan. If Jordan plays for them, the Sounds expect to employ 4 more full-time security people just to protect Jordan, who had a scare the other night when a fan ran on the field. The Sounds, who normally attract about 10 reporters to a game, expect that if Jordan plays in Nashville, they'll have somewhere between 50 and 75 reporters covering their games, at least in the early going. And that, they anticipate, will translate into big crowds and big money for the Nashville Sounds, or perhaps the AA Birmingham Barons.
$850 a month, huh? That's like one hole of golf. While Michael is headed to the minors, his old buddy Magic is back on the bench. We'll talk about his coaching debut. Yes, it's going to create interest, but can it possibly spark a playoff run from the Lakers? And we know Arizona's made a run all the way to Charlotte. We'll get Dick and Digger back here to look at Zona's pounding of Missouri.
Know what?
Dick and Digger are back. You know, nobody looks better than Arizona right now. The Wildcats have won their 4 games by an average of 18 points. They never trailed against Louisville or Mizzou. Break down yesterday's win.
Well, the key, obviously, is their backcourt. When you take a look at Khalid Reeves, but yesterday it was Damon Stoudemire who really had his big at 5 foot 10 inches, 10 rebounds, but 27 big points. Jumper right there, top of the circle. Comes back again, leading the break. Comes down the floor, knows and reads very well. Jump shot again. Now let's go to Khalid Reeves. Drives, pulls back, fade away, jump shot. And when you take a look at this type of offense, they were just too quick for Missouri. They really know how to break down you offensively because their penetration and rebounding, and yet when they run that fast break and shoot the threes or go to the basket, they're as tough as any team ever to play in the Final Four.
As far as the backcourt, wow.
Khalid Reeves, I'll take him over Jason Kidd right now. I don't care what anybody says. I love Khalid Reeves.
Dick, now what about the other ingredients? Ray O's 0 for 10. They don't look to the front court for much offense, but those guys are still solid role players.
Well, you talk about their front court, they don't get any credit at all. And Chris, you look at that front court, they all have roles, and they really complete those roles exceptionally well. And you know, Lute Olson, he's got bashed so much, they label these kids as chokers, as losers, because they lost in the first round of the tournament the last 2 years. Santa Clara and the year before East Tennessee State. But the bottom line is these kids have been winners all year long during the regular season. Unfortunately, we've developed now a new mentality in college basketball. What do you do with the postseason? 28 wins during the season means zilch if you don't do anything in the postseason, and I don't like that. So Lute Olson, you get the last laugh, and all those writers down there in the home community that were on your case, baby. And Joe Blair, he can guard people, he's physical, he's tough. Ray O's block shots. And Digger, I love the backcourt, but you're wacky if you're telling me you'll take Reeves over Jason Kidd. He can't be serious.
Let's go one-on-one. One-on-one, any place you want.
Well, we know that Reeves' stock has certainly gone up a lot in this tournament. But getting back to Lute Olson, you're right. He was very bitter. He was rubbing it kind of in the face of not only the media, but also the fans who have blasted him. But let's face it, they have gone out the last 2 tournaments as a 2 seed and a 3 seed. Any program is going to be criticized for the early exits.
And what hurt them, Chris, I think, with this, when you take a look at what went on with Missouri, Missouri goes 0 for 6 before this year in first-round games. The Pac-10 has an early exit this year with Cal losing, UCLA losing, and, of course, Washington State losing to Boston College. You add all that up. If I'm Lute Olson, forget the history. Get focused. Don't let this become a distraction. You're in the Final Four with the quickest guards in the country. You can win a national championship, but if you allow this Lute to become a distraction, it could cost you a national title.
Yeah, Dick, Lute wasn't enjoying himself yesterday. He was just getting off on bashing the media.
Well, Chris, let me say this. First of all, if you took as much bashing as he took for a year on the local level with all the success he's had there, I mean, he revitalized that program. That program was dead when he arrived, and he got bashed. I thought it was totally unfair just based on a performance in the tournament. So they lost the tournament game. Big deal. The bottom line is let's look at what he has done in that program. Fan attendance. Let's look what he's done in terms of graduating players. Classy program. That's one of the premier programs in America. He was hurt. He's a human being, Mr. Fowler, and sometimes we get hurt with criticism. And now he comes back with a smile, baby. And with the smile is, you know what I respect? They didn't hang their heads. They didn't pout. They lifted themselves up from last year, and I salute kids like Reeves and salute kids like Stoudemire. They really came back. Hey, I have to say, first of all, get well to my daughter. I got to get that in. She's not feeling well right now, Chris. Drink your orange juice, honey. Sherry, I love you. Take care of your medication, baby. And that's more important than talking about basketball. Thank you.
I agree. Who needs prodigy? We've got the satellite bulletin board here.
He'll start at the golf ball. They watch.
These guys are going to turn later in SportsCenter to break down the 2 matchups today, Arkansas, Michigan, and Boston College and Florida. But when you come back, so does Magic as the Lakers' new coach. As of tonight, he's making no promises except this one.
Win or lose, I guarantee you they will be better players.
Sports Weekly is presented by Delta Airlines. You'll love the way we fly.
You saw the headlines? He's back. Back where it all started. Back where he belongs. And I know what you're thinking. Joey Buttafuoco. Back at the auto body shop. But I'm talking about Magic Johnson back in L.A. as the new head coach. Wait a minute. Magic's not a coach. He's a player. I don't know. There's something very strange going on there. Even Jerry looks like he's having his own personal aftershock. Let's face it. There's only one coach the Lakers need right now, and he's back in New York, probably getting ready for another commercial. If the Lakers are going to go with amateurs, what about Jack Nicholson? He's not a real coach, but he can play one on TV. Besides, once Magic gets back in the Forum, he's only going to be thinking about one thing, getting that old jersey out of storage.
Magic says if he's a bad coach, he'll fit right in with a lot of others in the NBA. He was joking. The Lakers could use a little levity this season. They're worse than 18 years. Magic has a month to create a spark, and as Carl Ravitch reports, he's making no promises about his coaching ability, but he is making one guarantee for his young team.
During his 12 seasons playing for the Lakers, Magic Johnson led his team to the promised land 5 times. But since his departure, Showtime has fizzled. And for the first time in 18 years, the Lakers may not make the playoffs. So owner Jerry Buss called on his friend and former superstar to revitalize the team.
This is something that probably has been going on for 2 years. I think Jerry Buss has always harbored a desire for Magic Johnson to coach this team. And he feels the time to do it.
I'm happy to be back, and I'm looking forward to the challenge because basically that's what it is, a new challenge. And I will put forth 125% effort just like I did when I was a player.
Some critics say that the Lakers' decision was based on money. After all, their attendance has fallen more this year than any other NBA team, and bringing back their beloved leader could fill the empty seats. The Lakers say no.
The financial gain that we can get for the few remaining home games is so minimal compared to the overall revenues and costs of this team that for anybody to assume we did it for that reason just doesn't know the economics of the situation.
I'm not going to be used for no guy to make money off of me, because if I knew and I thought that was it, I'll be making a lot of money because I'll be a part of that gate.
2 seasons ago, after learning he had the HIV virus, Magic Johnson was forced to leave the game he loves. Doctors warned that the physical exertion, stress, and travel required to play in the NBA could worsen his condition. Some wonder if coaching poses the same threat.
Playing basketball, to me, is more strenuous than coaching. So this is fine. Let me just say this to everybody before I'm fine, I'm great. Don't worry about that. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing this.
Magic inherits a team that includes 5 players, 26 years or younger. Their lack of NBA experience and his lack of formal coaching could mean a longer rebuilding process.
I'm not worried about it because there's already a lot of bad coaches, so I just joined the rest of them, that's all.
He's been a coach on the floor for all the 12 years he played, and I think the fact that he was a leader, a guy who could get people to go out and play hard, I think he'll do a good job.
You have to know you're sincere and competent and reliable. And I think if you talk to half my players, maybe I'd get 1 out of 3. But you've got to have 1 or 2 of those attributes, and I think Irvin has all 3 of them.
Win or lose, I guarantee you they will be better players at the end of this season. I guarantee you that. I have no doubt in my mind.
Lakers and Bucks at the Forum. Coming up in SportsCenter in a half hour, more from Magic, a conversation with Wayne Gretzky, and perhaps more personal messages to member of Dick Vitale's family. But next, Dick Schaap takes us through the sports reporters. We'll see you back here in 30 minutes for SportsCenter.